Hey baseball fans, it's Ben Verlander here to tell you about my Fox Sports podcast, Flippin Bats. Each week on Flippin Bats, I sit down for a candid one-on-one interview with players from your favorite MLB teams. Guests like David Ortiz, Lucas Giolito, Ivan Rodriguez, Tyler Glasnow, the list goes on, have stopped by my clubhouse, where Flippin Bats is not only allowed, but encouraged. In addition to interviews, I also talk about the current state of baseball, covering the latest games, news, and of course, Shohei Ohtani updates. Subscribe to Flippin Bats with Ben Verlander on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.
Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon, let's get to it. Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from LA. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Sharpe, I feel so sorry
You
for
don't
you.
want to feel sorry for me.
My Cowboys can't lose, and your Lakers can't win a game. They're 0-5. What are you going to do with
Can I
this?
ask you a question? How many games did the Cowboys win in the preseason?
Let's see. It didn't matter.
Exactly.
Good point. I hadn't thought of it that way. It is still preseason. But we are finally getting a chance to see what the Lakers are going to look like. Let's talk about it here. We got to see LeBron, AD, Russ, how they would work together in last night's game against Golden State. Well, the trio combined for 47 points, but also had 11 turnovers as the Lakers fell to the Warriors for their fifth straight preseason loss at this point. The King was honest about how he and AD are meshing with Russ, saying, quote, "It's going to take a minute for us to become the team that we know we are going to be capable of being. We're going to have moments where we're not quite there. We may take steps backwards. I think nothing is worth having if it's not worth working for." Some wise words from the King. Shannon, how did they look?
I thought they looked good at times, Skip. Early on, they got out, they pushed the pace. LeBron got a couple of buckets going to the basket. He had a three. They were really, really flowing. And then other times, as LeBron said, they didn't look good. They looked like, damn, like a fire drill. And so I agree with him. I think it's going to take, for me, Skip, it's going to take longer than even I previously thought. I thought it might take a month. It might take a month and a half. It might even take 2 months. And for this thing to look like the fine oil machine that they hope it looks like. Because, well, like I said, Skip, Russ is the piece that really doesn't belong. And he's doing everything. You can tell he's trying to fit in and try to blend in. And he's like, he wants to push, but he's like, I can't, because this is not what we do. But I think the biggest thing for him is just take better care of the football, the basketball. Skip,
He treats it like a football.
Yeah, Skip, he tries things that you shouldn't try in those situations.
Yep.
And so I just think they're going to have to do a better job. LeBron's going to have to do a better job of taking care of the basketball. But Frankie V got his work cut out for him, because now how do I find the right mix? How do I find the right playing time? And like I said before, this is not a natural fit between AD, LeBron, and Russ. It's not like Golden State, Skip.
Yep.
Golden State, no one got less because everybody could play off the ball.
Yep.
You look at Brooklyn, no one gets less. But in this situation, Russ is used to having the ball. LeBron is used to having the ball.
Okay.
Someone is not going to get the ball as much as they normally would.
Yep.
So who's going to have to sacrifice that? But Skip, like I said, it's going to take 2 months for this thing to look like a basketball team, like they belong together. And like I said, if anybody can pull it off, I believe LeBron can pull it off. But I saw things that made me like, okay, yeah, we good. And then I saw things like, bam. Man, I'm going to hate to be dealing with Skip after one of these type games.
Yep.
But that's okay.
You're about to have to deal with me right now.
That's all right. It's the preseason. Now, when the Cowboys was sticking it up in the preseason, I came out here and put a positive spin. Now, I'm going to need you to return the favor to me.
Remember, my quarterback did not play throughout the entire preseason. He barely practiced in the preseason, and I was highly concerned about that.
Right.
No more.
Okay. Well, don't be highly concerned about this.
Last night, your new big three did play. And
Yes.
I'm going to make it your new big four did play, because Carmelo got to start with the other three.
Yes.
Now, I will give you this before I launch into this and unleash on your Lakers. It was very cool to watch all four of them on the floor at the same time. because Carmelo's not bashful when it comes to shooting. Like early on, he just he's looking around like I'll shoot it. I got this, right? And it didn't seem to be like any play had been run. The ball came to him. He's just going up with it, right?
Yep.
Okay, but it did do my heart good to see 4, obviously, future Hall of Fame. I think they're all lock Hall of Famers, right?
I think all 4 of them is going to make the 75th anniversary team also,
Okay,
Skip.
you well could make the case, although I always say sometimes I think I could make it into the Basketball Hall of Fame because the criteria seems to be very low.
Okay.
But the point is that you got to see all 4 of them together, and yet let's frame what was happening last night. Visiting team. There's no Steph. There's no Clay, obviously. He's due back maybe in a month or so, we hope.
Right.
There was no Draymond last night. There was no James Wiseman. He was the 2nd overall pick. He did not play. And their kid that they picked this year, Kuminga, the 7th overall pick, did not play last night. So they're way shorthanded in who they're putting out on the floor. It was sort of Andrew Wiggins and a cast of dozens, right?
Correct.
And yet your Lakers, just to be fair about this before I launch, were without, obviously Trevor Ariza is gone for a while with he needed surgery on his ankle, and THT is gone now. He's got something, he tore a ligament in his thumb. So he's gone for a while. Kendrick Nunn didn't play because of an ankle. Ellington didn't play because of a hamstring, and Malik Monk didn't play because he has a groin pull. Okay, so some of your new pieces were not there last night that could have helped a little bit. Now, what did we see overall? Well, LeBron comes out and looks completely out of whack, out of rhythm, out of sorts, because it's like everybody's looking at each other, to your point, and it's fire drillish, but it's also like, well, who's going to do what?
Right.
Who's going to initiate? What is it, your turn or is it my turn? There's a lot of looking at each other like, well, what do we do next? And it didn't seem like any carryover from practice because there was no well-oiled machine. I didn't see like great ball movement like, oh, they've been working on new plays or whatever. I just couldn't see it. I kept saying, they're going to do what exactly? And I couldn't find a what. And then the shock of shocks to me is, I always say LeBron James is still the best passer in basketball, has the highest IQ in the NBA, basketball IQ. And yet, right away, it looked like LeBron has caught Russell's turnover fever, right? Because it's contagious. When you play with Russ, everything seems a little helter-skelter, out of control. And they're trying to push the pace. And nobody can push the pace better than Russ.
Right.
But it can go completely over the edge where he is dribbling the basketball as if it's a football, which is oblong, and it would be impossible to dribble a football, right?
Right.
And you dribble it off your feet, out of bounds, and right and left. So all of a sudden, I start to count LeBron's turnovers. He had 4 in the first quarter, and then we kept going. And if we could see what happened last night, this is all in the first half. LeBron was on a record turnover pace. There's number 1. Here we go again. LeBron, no. You're better than that. It's just like your head's not quite in the game. LeBron, whoops. No, you're better than that. And, that was really a bad idea. And here goes LeBron again, and he dribbled right off his foot out of bounds, and he went and sat down for a second, and the ball's still in play. He went and sat for a second, and then here we go again. So I'm counting turnovers, and he has 6 with 8.5 minutes left in the second quarter. So remember, Jason Kidd's record, I know this is preseason versus regular season, but the all-time record for turnovers in a regular season game was by Jason Kidd back in 2001 at Phoenix. He had 14 total. So LeBron actually records a 7th turnover with 3.5 minutes left in the first half. And I'm thinking, is he going to go for the record tonight, quote unquote? And if we could see what got recorded, it went in the box score as number 7, and then somehow it got erased. This was it. Well, he just got stripped. It looks like it's a turnover. I think they decided that he was in the shooting motion here, I guess, and that it was a shot attempt, and so
they gave him a block shot.
They made it a block shot instead of a turnover. Well, my point is, it's like, did you want to just save LeBron from some embarrassment? I wondered if our man Rich Paul sort of sauntered over to the scoring table and said, Maybe we should eliminate the last one.
First of all, Rich Paul was at the Dodgers game. So let's get that out.
Okay.
He was at the Dodgers game.
I did not notice that. And I also had the Dodgers game on, but my attention was focused on
I bet your attention was focused on the Lakers game.
So he had 7 turnovers.
He had 6.
7 with 3.5 minutes left in the first half. It's just like, what are you doing? Well, meanwhile, back at the ranch, Russ is on some record preseason turnover pace because, remember, his first stint, he had 6 the first time we saw him. Right. And then he comes back on Sunday night, and he had 9. What? And last night, if we could see what happened, he had 5 more. Yeah. So 6 plus 9 is 15 plus 5. He's got 20 in 6 quarters. Here we go with Russ last night. Russ, that's just a bad idea. You're better than that. That's sort of grade schoolish. And then, whoops.
But it's like, where's Kim Baker?
That's a bad idea. That's just a bad idea.
And this one, come on,
Russ.
What is that?
Russ, who are you throwing it to? That looked like a Sam Darnold pass. Whew, here we go again. We're doing it all over. We're gonna see them all again one more time.
Baseball, but Skip, baseball, stay in the corner, bro. Where you going? What was that one? Come on, Russ.
It's covered.
This really?
That's just completely out of control. And Russ, you're trying to throw it through 2 defenders to get to the corner. Okay, so he's playing out of control. Mm-hmm. My point about Russell Westbrook, he comes to L.A., he is coming home. This is his town. This is his team that he grew up rooting for. Nobody else was a Laker fan as a kid that I know of on the team because nobody else grew up here. Mm-hmm. So Russell is on the biggest stage he's ever been on, the stage he dreamed of being on.
Right.
He's got his new documentary dropping on Friday night,
right.
the Chopra one,
right.
which is about passion play, Russell Westbrook.
Right.
And I'm all eyes. I want to see it.
Okay.
But it's going to fuel his superstardom here in L.A. and fuel what I consider Russ's egomania. So all of a sudden, he's trying to live up to this new stage, and he's trying too hard.
Right.
And he wants to just take over the offense. He's the new point guard. LeBron is going to segue later in his career over to the 2 or 3 or wherever he's going to go. He's going to be off the ball for the most part. And Russ is trying to assert himself as the new leader and playmaker / quarterback of the Los Angeles Lakers. And so far, so bad, because in that 6 quarters that he's played with 20 turnovers, that's got to be some kind of preseason record.
Well,
pace.
I'm sure it is, Skip. But I just think the thing is that this is the opportunity. This is the time where you find out what will and what won't work. And Russ, the mistake that you can. When you're on bad teams like Russ has been on the last couple of years, or teams that's not really viable for a championship, you can take those kind of chances. But when you're on a team that thinks they can contend for a title, a lot of those passes you can't attempt. And I think that's the hardest thing, Skip, is because he's played the way what we're seeing right now in the preseason far longer than he hasn't. So it's going to be hard to break that tendency. These guys, it's not a natural fit. And so anytime that something's not a natural fit, it takes you a little longer for it to fit. And so I believe it's going to take them, they might have to go past Christmas into the new year.
They might. I would agree.
Yes.
LeBron said it's going to take a minute. Maybe a couple of minutes, right?
You're exactly right, Skip. Look. Everybody just automatically assume the team with the most talent win. Now, obviously, it puts you at a great advantage, but also blending this talent, blending these egos. Everybody at AD needs to get his touches. LeBron needs to get his touches. Russ doesn't want to feel left out. Carmelo at one point in time was the guy. So, Skip, you got to blend a lot of egos.
And
a lot of shots. And so you got to divvy that up. But when do we get the shots? You just can't willy-nilly, well, Bron has shot 3 times, AD shot 4 times, Russ has shot 2. Now it's my time. It can't work like that, Skip.
I agree with your big takeaway that each one of these 4 who started the game last night have been the center of a universe before, where everything revolved around them. Even Russ last year in Washington, even though it was Bradley Beal, obviously, but Russ was the show.
Russ had the ball.
Yeah, he had the ball. And all of a sudden, you have to try to figure 4 guys out to revolve around Russ, who, to me, can be a disaster waiting to happen.
Yes.
I still believe that in the end, he's a joy to watch as far as a solo act, but he's a solo act stat machine. And he actually stat machined pretty well last night. I mean, look across the board at those numbers. Aren't those pretty good?
Yeah.
Aren't those Russell-esque? Because he got to 10 rebounds, right? He had 6 assists. He had 10 points. So he wasn't that far away from a triple-double in 28 minutes, right? Okay, well, that'll work. And I don't doubt that he's going to stat machine at the highest level.
Right.
But does that contribute to LeBron winning?
Right.
I don't think so.
Right. Well, I think the thing is, Skip, also is that I don't know how, he's going to be able to get these numbers with AD and LeBron. I mean, like I said, you're just trying to get your feet wet. You're not really going all out. How I don't even think he has. Do you believe he'll have 15, 20 triple-doubles, Skip? I don't.
You don't?
I don't.
Well, I can tell you right now, in the back of his mind, given the fact that his documentary about his life is dropping on Friday night, I'm sorry, I think he thinks he's going to have 40 of them.
Skip, just because your documentary is dropping, that doesn't mean you're going to win a championship because you drop a documentary.
It does not, but he's all about Russ. His world revolves around Russell. And it's hard, I keep saying, to teach an older dog, he's not an old dog, but an older dog new tricks because it's what he's always been.
Right.
It's why Kevin Durant said, finally, I'm sorry, I can't do it with him. I got to join forces with those guys.
Well, Skip, in order to get something that you've never had, you must be willing to do things you've never done.
That is correct, because he is Russell Westbrook number 0 rings.
Right.
0 rings.
So if you
Does
want
he want a
rings,
sacrifice for that?
Exactly.
Okay,
So if
and
you
it
want
is
rings,
a huge sacrifice.
Yeah.
He is going to have to swallow a ton of ego, and he's going to have to find a new place in this universe that in the end, if you're going to do what you think they're going to do, the universe still has to revolve around number 6.
Right.
It just does.
Yeah.
He's still the star of the show.
Yeah,
in the end, he has to be the man.
Right.
And by the way, big picture off last night, I like, and AD's been playing a lot now.
Yeah.
He's played way more than
he
the
played
other
30 minutes last night.
Played 30 minutes, and he's been playing every game pretty high minutes. I'm impressed.
Yes.
And I was impressed with last night. He is playing at a supremely high level. Into Frankie V's viewpoint early in camp, he looks great.
He does.
He did muscle up a little bit. He leaned out and muscled up. He looks like he's ready to, you think LeBron's going to be in the MVP conversation. He could make a real run at it.
Yeah, but Skip, it looks like he's built his body up to play the 5. I thought he would play the 5.
That is correct. And he started last night at the 5.
Right.
Okay. So, and by the way, when Dwight came in, he just causes problems in a good way.
Yeah.
He's getting into it right and left with Bielitsa, and it's like he's pushing and he's shoving and he's laughing and he's smiling, and I love the energy he brings.
Right.
So I still love all the pieces, and you scoff at me, but it's GM LeBron brought in a lot of great pieces if he can navigate around number 0 rings.
Right. But the thing is, the guy that has the best chemistry with AD is LeBron and Rondo, because Rondo's played with him. Rondo knows exactly when he's going to spin and go and get the lob. As Rondo goes baseline, he knows AD's coming, he throws it up, AD puts it down.
Okay.
So they have great chemistry. That's something that he and Russ is going to have to continue to build upon, Skip, because those are easy baskets. But some of the passes that Russ was trying last night, I'm like, Russ, why?
I don't know.
Why?
But you've thought that his whole career.
Yeah.
Why did you try that? What are you thinking? Well, I don't know. It's just who I am.
Well, Skip, we've seen guys, really good players on bad teams. They do things. And it's like, who cares?
Yep.
But when you're on a championship contending team, or what you believe is a championship contending team, the risk that you were willing to take on other teams, I don't know if you'll be able to get away with them.
Yep. Okay. Which brings me to the last man you brought up. I tweeted about this last night. I still say they look more effective with Rondo in the lineup in place of Russ. And you can't do it. If you're going to bring Russell Westbrook here, you can't.
Oh, you can't bring him off the bench.
You cannot do it.
Yeah.
But I loved what I saw from Rondo last night.
Yeah.
And what did I see in only 21 minutes? He also had 9 rebounds. That's pretty good for a little man.
5 assists.
And 5 assists. and the offense started to click with Rondo orchestrating. It's okay if LeBron wants to play the 2 or the 3 with Rondo because I trust him. You trust him. He's high IQ and lower turnovers. He's not going to do anything where you say, Rondo, what are you thinking about that? Maybe every once in a while he'll try a pass just to see if he can thread the needle. But for the most part, this guy can play quarterback. Right?
Yeah, he can.
So I'm going to give you all that, but I still say LeBron caught turnover fever. It was shocking to me, and I think you're going to see more of that this year because it's the rub-off effect of you're trying to win in spite of. You're trying to overcome Russ, and somehow you play out of control too.
Well, they know, Skip, they know that skip pass that LeBron likes to make, come down on one side of the key and then skip past the ball all the way to the other side. And guys are getting their hands up, getting deflected. Right.
Okay. So, in the end, I give you high marks for everything except 7 turnovers in the first half.
It was 6 turnovers. That other was a block shot.
I just showed you.
It was a block shot.
No, you already said it was a turnover. So.
All right, well, we're just building up to the regular season, and now we're getting closer and closer. I cannot wait, guys.
No mercy.
After John Gruden's resignation, the NFLPA plans to request that the league release the over 650,000 emails from the investigation surrounding the Washington football team. Lawyers for the NFLPA released a statement saying, quote, "It is truly outrageous that after the NFL's 10-month investigation involving hundreds of witnesses and 650,000 documents related to the longtime culture of harassment and abuse at the Washington football team, the only person to be held accountable and lose their job is the coach of the Las Vegas Raiders." So, Shannon, a lot here. What's going on?
Well, the NFLPA wants accountability, Skip. This started out as an investigation into workplace misconduct. The only guy to lose his job was a guy that never worked there.
His brother worked there, but he didn't.
So, a guy that didn't work there. Who wasn't employed at the time by the NFL, lost his job with 650,000 emails into workplace misconduct, and the guy that loses his job wasn't there to do the misconduct. So I want to know, what did Bruce Allen say? Skip, when we talk about, this is the way friends talk to we're friends. Okay, I got a group of friends. Me, Keith Burns, and Daryl McCormick. We talk, we curse, we say things. That's what we do. We friends. Okay, I call time Deion Sanders, or I talk to Brooks. They don't curse. I don't curse in front of them.
Derek Brooks.
Brooks. I don't curse in front of them. We don't do that. You see how we are with friends? One group of friends, we talk one way. Another group of friends, we talk another way. So if you talking that way, if you sending emails about this to Bruce Allen, what is he saying in return? So I want to know in the work.
Well, you obviously do know.
Exactly.
You know exactly what.
And that's what the NFL. So what it looks to me is that they sacrificed John Gruden for the benefit of the big scheme. What the owner of the Washington football team, Skip, when you got 650,000 emails, it's hard to believe that the only communication happened between John Gruden and Bruce Allen. So was there any owner-to-owner communication? Was there any other GM-to-GM communication, or owner-to-GM, or any other people that might have thought and talked like John Gruden was talking? It's hard for me to see a scenario where that wasn't the case.
Agreed.
How the hell, if we doing a workplace misconduct, I get punished and I wasn't even there? You wasn't even looking at me. Oh, and Skip, and when you know how these things work, now we're talking about the Washington, the New York Times and the Washington Post. We're talking about papers that broke Watergate, Iran-Contra. This ain't no Adam Schefter. This is not our own Jay Glazer or Chris Mortensen leaking information. This is big time.
It was Wall Street Journal first.
This is big time.
Yes, big time. Agreed.
So we know, see, because what they're trying to do is say John Gruden is an isolated incident. And the NFLPA said, nah, this is tip of the iceberg. Because, Skip, it's one thing for a coach to talk like this. What if owners are communicating and saying things of this nature? Now we got a whole different ball game. And I think the NFL might be trying to protect, because you sacrificed John Gruden. Skip, what he said was wrong, and he probably should have. But Skip, he wasn't the point of emphasis in your investigation. How he getting caught up?
I don't know.
Skip,
it's a great question.
If I'm fishing for bass, I catch a catfish, I'm throwing it back because that ain't what I want. But why you keep the catfish?
They caught a shark,
but
right?
See, but here, no. But see, you caught the shark when it's the whale that you protected.
Okay, yes.
That's the thing. We don't want him. Mm-hmm. So for me, Skip, it's a bad look. I understand the NFLPA wants, requested. I don't think it's going to happen, Skip.
It's just not. Well, you saw the line in the story. An NFL spokesperson told USA Today that it had no plans to release those emails for confidentiality reasons.
So hold on, Skip. So John Gruden don't get no confidentiality.
No, he does not.
So John Gruden don't get. So everybody else get protected except John Gruden. Now I get it. John Gruden done brought a lot of people. He got the former coach of the Rams, Jeff Fisher. He having a comment. Everybody and nobody was like, hold on, whoa, John, why? I got to explain some things that happened years and years ago. Why you dragging me in this? Yep. And Bruce Allen say no comment. Okay, just release.
And yet Bruce no longer works there.
Right.
Yeah.
But the communication, it's hard for me to believe that one guy's talking one way and the other guy said, well, John, I don't really want to talk like that. Let's not talk like that. It seems to me that when one guy's communicating one way, the communication that's coming back, Skip, is very similar to the communication that went out. Skip, this is not a good look. The NFL is not looking good for him.
Okay. I preface what I'm about to say with the fact that we're both huge National Football League fans. We love the games. We love the product that is the National Football League, and it has never been better than it is right now.
That's what the ratings say.
That's what they say. Given that, this hit me right between the eyes. I tried to explain even to you yesterday that, wait a second, this got leaked on last Friday to the Wall Street Journal, the racist email.
Right.
So that was the tip of the iceberg, but only the tip.
Right.
But it appeared that the league thought the tip of the iceberg would be enough to move Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders, to say, okay, I got to do what I got to do. John, you're gone.
Right.
But no, it didn't move him to do that. He dragged his feet and he sweated and fretted all weekend, hoping it would go away.
Right.
And then the Raiders laid an egg, obviously, on Sunday, and nothing had happened. And all of a sudden, another very serious, highly respected news outlet gets dropped in its lap. An avalanche of emails. It had to be leaked. Somebody in the league office had to say, we're going to do this to John Gruden.
Right.
So they leaked the avalanche that ended up pushing Mark. What's he going to do now?
He got no choice
He's
now.
got no choice.
Right.
He's got to allow John to resign when you know and I know he's done. He's fired. He's out. And almost certainly he's out of the National Football League for the rest of his career.
Yeah, I don't see how he gets back in there after saying some of the things that he said about the commissioner.
I mean, and plus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers removed him from their Ring of Honor. They pulled down the name. It's not going to be up there anymore because he also took a shot at the Glazer family.
Yeah.
Okay? So he just burned bridge after bridge after bridge. Okay, we get it. So, as you say, they sacrificed John Gruden because they wanted to send a message. We as a league are no longer like that. But you need a scapegoat. You need to demonize him.
Yes.
And again, neither of us in any way, shape, or form are defending 1 ounce of what John Gruden said.
It's indefensible.
It's indefensible. But they said, aha, we've got him.
Right.
So let's send the message to the world out there that we're the new NFL. We welcome inclusion. We are open-minded.
Right.
Come one, come all. Well, to do that, you have to make an example of him.
Yes.
And he's the old way. That's not how we live anymore. We don't operate that way anymore, even though you can argue some of the owners probably do have that lingering mindset from the bad old days.
Well, you could release the emails and say we really don't think like that and let us judge for ourselves.
We could. And obviously the one that the lawyers call into question is the object of the investigation is Daniel Snyder in Washington. Okay? And yet he is part of the power structure. He is an owner.
Thank you.
And Roger Goodell is not an owner, so Roger is at the behest of what they want to do.
Yes.
Okay? So he can suggest maybe we should make an example of somebody, right? It's got to come from the top, but it's not his call in the end. It's the owner's call, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let me get this off my chest, because this reminded me of my pet peevest story of all in the history of the National Football League, and it was Deflategate.
Right.
What happened? A similar circumstance happened. What happened with the New England Patriots dynasty? Well, they had a reputation for cheating.
Correct.
Going all the way back to videotaping, allegedly, the walkthroughs before their first Super Bowl and their second Super Bowl victory, that they were accused of videotaping the Saturday walkthroughs of their opponents, the Rams and the Panthers. Correct? Okay, so then they get busted, Belichick does, for Spygate.
Correct.
Got turned in by a guy who had worked under him as his defensive coordinator, our man Eric Mangini. And he's just flat out caught red-handed.
Right.
And so they punish, but then weirdly, mysteriously, inexplicably, the tapes just disappear. Nobody knows where the tapes are. Okay, so the lingering perception of the Patriots are they get away with quote-unquote murder, right?
Correct.
And here we come to illegally deflated footballs, allegedly. And what do they say at this point? This is the 2014 season going into the postseason, right? They say, okay, Tom Brady's 37 years of age. He's near the end.
Right.
Okay, let's sacrifice him.
Correct.
Let's make an example out of Tom Brady. Let's vilify him. Let's incriminate him at halftime of the AFC Championship game in New England. Let's go in and check the footballs and bust him. And he will get blamed for it because Bill Belichick's going to call a press conference on the Saturday before they leave for the Super Bowl, right? In which he says, basically, don't look at me. Don't blame me. Go ask my quarterback. Didn't he say that?
Yes.
Okay, so he is throwing his quarterback under the bus, and you can't tell me that wasn't the flashpoint beginning of the end of Brady-Belichick. So what does Brady do? Well, he's 37. It looks like he's on his last legs. And what does he do? He said, no, I'm not going to stand for this. I'm taking you to court.
Right.
He fought back and successfully fought back because he goes to the court in Manhattan, the first round that he could go to, and he won.
Right.
And it went to appellate court, to the appeals court in Indianapolis.
Right.
And at that point, as the season was approaching, and he was going to have to serve his 4-game suspension anyway, he finally ceased and desisted, but he had made his point. He got the judge in Manhattan, the first round, to say, you're right, and they're very wrong. They're completely out of bounds. And the judge shredded the case against Tom Brady. Okay, and then what does he do? He clears his name by he keeps on keeping on playing. Because he wasn't removed from the National Football League the way John Gruden just got removed. He goes on and he plays. Now we're up to 7 more seasons, and he's won 3 more Super Bowls. Does anybody still hang Deflategate on Tom Brady's resume? It's a side note. It's a footnote. But if he had stopped playing right there, if he had flamed out at age 37, when most quarterbacks historically had hit the wall at 38. Well, if he'd flamed out and never accomplished anything again, what would have happened to his resume?
Yeah, absolutely.
That would have been the lead.
The question.
Yeah, in his NFL quote-unquote obituary, as you look back, the lead would have been Tom Brady, who was the centerpiece of Deflategate, who was caught red-handed.
But Skip, but if you think about it, Skip, as you mentioned, when they had Zeke, they released all Zeke, the conversation between Zeke and what happened in Miami and what happened in Ohio. And when they got Ray Rice and they released all the things about Adrian Peterson. Okay, you got a probe about criminal misconduct, workplace misconduct. But you don't release nothing? You release Zeke stuff? What the conversation between what she said to him and what happened? You release all that. Everything when it comes to a player, you have no problem releasing. Now all of a sudden it's about workplace misconduct, and you got 650,000 emails.
That's what it says.
And you don't release, all you want to release is about what John Gruden said, who's not a part of the probe. He didn't work there. He wasn't a part of the workplace misconduct. But somehow he got ensnared. And the people that you're looking at, well, we ain't got nothing. We ain't going to do that.
Okay, but to sum up Tom Brady, I never thought Brady had any idea about deflated footballs. He'd only told Belichick, I like them at the lower end of regulation.
Right.
I like it a little softer.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers likes it a little to the high end.
Right.
He likes it tighter on his grip.
Correct.
Okay? So I never blame Brady for this,
No.
but Belichick knows everything about the footballs.
Right.
They practice with wet footballs, right?
Yes.
But Belichick gets away with that. I don't know. But they needed to punish the Patriots.
Right.
So they said, well, let's make him the scapegoat,
Right.
Brady, and let's do him in just the way they did in John Gruden.
It was Skip, just imagine if there was an investigation and they say we confiscated 100 pounds or 1,000 pounds of marijuana, cocaine, or fentanyl, or whatever it is. And it's like, okay, we confiscated, okay, so where's that? Now we're not going to show you.
Okay, but remember, the Zeke was a criminal investigation in 2 cities.
Right.
So, again, we knew those things.
But what did the NFL do? They released their findings.
They did.
Okay, release your findings of what you found in Washington.
It wasn't a criminal it wasn't an outside investigation. It was internal. It was an NFL
Right.
but both of sanctioned investigation.
Right, but here's the thing. The NFL is sanctioning this. This is the NFL into a workplace misconduct. Now they got some bigger fish to fry because now the athletic trainer got ensnared.
That's a criminal investigation because the FBI came in and said, we want all of your
everything.
Yes.
So now they got even bigger. Hold on. You got an investigation into workplace misconduct, and now you got the athletic trainer involved in something even. So there's something seriously going on in the Washington football team that the NFL at some point in time is not going to be able to keep covering for Daniel Snyder.
Okay. So I thought in the end Brady got framed for Deflategate.
Right.
But he just got busted. He just flat out, Gruden just got busted.
Right.
Like, we make an example of you. It's not even, it's beyond scapegoating because he's obviously, he wasn't framed.
Right. He did
it.
He did it. Right, right.
They just outed him. They just said, here.
But here's the thing, Skip. But think about it, Skip. The communication seems to be between him and someone in that organization.
Absolutely.
So what about the people on the receiving end of these emails? What about the other communication that they had going on? Skip, do you understand how many 650,000 emails is?
And I assume the technicality was that he was emailing out of his private account to Bruce Allen's Washington football team account. It was the official one. So that's how they got, if he had emailed only to Bruce's private account.
If Bruce had if they had been a private, so his phone to my phone, okay, that's right. You probably don't get that.
Maybe, yeah.
But the NFL will remember, because they tried to get Tom Brady's.
Yep.
They make you turn over all personal communication.
Okay.
And then if you don't,
it could have come up anyway.
Right.
And God only knows what else they do have that they're not going to release.
Right. So that's the point. They're trying to make it look like this is an isolated incident. The NFLPA say we believe this is tip of the iceberg because we believe that the good old boy network, that this is how you guys operate. You say one thing publicly, but in private, this is the way you behave. So your private is not matching with what your public statements are.
I got you. But the message is, we put this fire out.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't. All you did was put one fire over here, but they believe there's a bigger brush fire going on over there.
A bonfire.
Yes, and so we need to see that.
Yep, I hear you.
I don't believe you're going to see it, Skip. Skip, it's just like when the CBA comes up. Every time the NFLPA says, let us look at the books, okay, we'll say how much y'all want. We ain't gonna let you look at the books. We're not going to let you look at the books, Skip.
There's something deeper going on here. It's just a matter of if we will find out more to the story.
No.
That's a lot of emails, guys.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to switch gears for now with the latest surrounding Kyrie Irving not joining the Nets right now until he's able to fully participate. And so many have made the connection that the best solution could be a deal with the 76ers for Ben Simmons, who wants out of Philly. But according to The Athletic, the 76ers have no interest in such a trade. So, Shannon, what does this tell you?
Well, it tells me that right in the Philly, I don't know about the other team, the other 29 teams or the 28 teams, Skip, but it tells me that Philly doesn't want this problem. Now, you're talking about a guy that's moody, that's mercurial, whatever term you want to use, aloof, whatever that term is that there are teams that's like, you know what? Okay, the Cleveland situation didn't work out. The Boston situation didn't work out. He has an ideal situation in Brooklyn, and all of a sudden this. Do we really want that problem? Now, I believe, Skip, there's someone that's not a very good team that's going to be willing to take on a talent like a Kyrie Irving. But, Skip, this is not just about the vaccine. Now it's about, he wants to be the people's champ for people that's losing their jobs because of the vaccine mandate.
Yep.
Skip. The vaccine.
The voice for the voiceless.
Okay. Right. Skip, you do realize, the mandate only went in a month or two ago. The vaccine's been available basically since the first of the year. So starting in February, March, you could have got the vaccine. He didn't say nothing about that. Now, all of a sudden, because he wants to flip it, well, I'm not anti-vaccine. That seems to be what your stance was all along.
Sure
you
does.
didn't mention anything about no mandate.
No.
And now, Kyrie, you got to understand, the people that's supporting you, a lot of the people that's supporting you were the very people that told you to shut up and dribble. Those were the people that told you, Kyrie, there ain't no place for you. You need to just shut up and dribble. Now those are your people that's trumpeting for your cause.
Yep.
But you don't see that. So for me, Skip, it looks to me that feelings yeah, we got a problem with Ben. But we do know this. Ben shows up and plays every night. Ben, we don't never have to worry about getting the call and say, nah, I'm going to see y'all in 2 weeks because, I got some things going on. And I think that's the issue at hand right now with Philly. Philly's yeah, we could do this deal. But what happens when he takes a week off or 2 days or 4 days off on us? Then what do we do? So that's what it tells me to Skip, that team. But I think now you have to look at LeBron in a different light.
Yep.
Because LeBron got it to work for 3 years with this young man.
He did.
They got the 3 finals and they won one.
I give you that.
And it seems nobody else can make it more than a year before Kyrie's on some bull jive. And here we find ourselves, here we are, Skip.
I give you that. LeBron benefited from Kyrie's talent and, I think, basketball genius and clutchness. He made that big shot. But LeBron had to navigate him the way he's going to have to try to figure out Russell Westbrook.
Right.
And it's not easy, and it wasn't easy. They were 3-1 down, and it seemed desperate where they sort of had to, they're close to throwing in the towel, and then here they came.
Right.
Okay, so I give you high marks for that. LeBron had to overcome Kyrie. He had to win in spite of his mercurial nature.
Yes.
Right? Because it was something. In fact, the reports after the year were that there would be weeks on end when Kyrie wouldn't speak to anybody at practice, right? Or on the bus or wherever they are on the plane, right? Okay, so that's hard. So back to this idea that the Sixers have rejected the idea of trading Ben Simmons straight up for Kyrie. Well, on paper, it looks like a thank you, God trade. Like here we go.
Imaginated heaven.
Oh, it's perfect. And yet, to your point, the Sixers are saying, well, wait a second. We know Ben, and Ben's got his flaws. He's got his demons, his free throw demons late in games. But he's a high character kid who plays. He just plays the same way every night. I'm not sure he's high motor because he doesn't look like he's going that hard, but he gives you the exact same every night. And you can depend on him to show up and be Ben Simmons, for better or for worse. But there's no drama to it, right? Okay. So with Kyrie, he is going on 30 in March. This will be his 11th season. So he's not a spring chicken anymore, right? He's getting into later prime. Is that fair to say? Yeah. For a guard, he's in his later prime. And he's now seen as the third best player on his team.
Seen as he is.
Okay. But the league would see him as the third best player.
Everybody should see that.
Okay. What do you always tell me about professional sports? It's just going to go on without you, whether you like it or not. Just when you think you're irreplaceable, indispensable, you're not. Life will go on. The NFL, NBA, MLB, they will go on without you. Because as great as he has been, and I think I've never seen a handle quite like this still fairly young man's. But when you start to approach age 30, the league is starting to say, I don't know. Can we trust him? Will he be there?
But Skip, even though he's only 30, what else is he? He's injury prone.
Yeah, and he's
an injury prone, mercurial, moody. Aloof guy. And that, do I want that? And I get it. He's like, well, everybody doesn't have a bad day. But but when you're around other people, you can't exhibit that kind of behavior. If you're in your own little cubicle, Skip, you can just work in your cubicle. But when you're working with a group of people and you're like on a plane, you're in meetings, you're on the practice court, that doesn't really fly. That doesn't really work well in a team setting. Now, if you want to be that way with your coach, your tennis coach, or your golf coach, that's fine. In an individual sport, Skip, okay, fine. I don't want to talk today. But when you're in a setting and you got other guys, it makes it really hard to be the way that he is. It's amazing that he's come thus far and he's been so successful. It just goes to show you what teams have tolerated when you see this front and foremost now.
Yep.
And it's almost like it's getting worse.
Yep. He is close to making himself untradeable. To your point, there's probably some teams, Sacramento, some of the
you're going to take him because he's not. He is a superstar.
Okay, got it. But at the highest level, he's becoming untradeable to a team he would want to play for.
Correct.
That's what's happening.
Yes.
Because nobody's going to trust him or want to try to depend on him for an entire NBA season.
Right.
So in the end, we come back to what Shams has just reported, that now he's trying to explain, this is from his confidants, that he's not anti-vaccine, he's anti-societal pressure on people who are losing their jobs because they won't get vaccinated. Well, I'm not buying that because it doesn't, 2 + 2 don't equal 4.
Right.
Well, then you're just anti-vaccine.
Thank you.
Because if you're wanting to be a voice for the voiceless, well, hundreds of thousands of the voiceless have lost their lives over COVID.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, you don't want to speak for them?
Help me out. And if you're in the confines of a workplace or a team concept, it makes all the sense in the world. Any reputable doctor will tell you, you just need to get vaccinated for the betterment of the whole, right? And society is trying to help the populace by saying, it's just better if you get vaccinated.
Right.
Starting with Dr. Fauci, he's saying, it's just better.
Right.
We have a better shot if you, A, get vaccinated, and B, continue to wear your mask. Right? We just have a better shot of overcoming this in the short and the long haul if we do that.
Right.
And yet, some people say, well, I can't do that. And many workplaces finally said, okay, that's your right. As an American citizen, you have the right to go home and stay home.
Right. But there are people that are vaccinated that would love to have that job that you said, no, I'm not going to get vaccinated to keep. There are a lot of people that are vaccinated that would love to be in that situation. Skip, it's kind of like if I'm at a normal job setting and we got a project to do, and somebody says, well, I don't want to work on this project. Because basically Kyrie says, I don't want to get vaccinated to do this project. What do you think the employer is going to do? Oh, okay, don't worry. Don't you even worry about it. I give the Nets kudos for saying, we're going to pay you for the away games, even though you're not even participating.
Good point. I agree.
They said, we're going to pay you for the away games. Let me get this right. Stay away from the team. You're not vaccinated. You can't come around because Skip is going to be basically impossible for them to be able to deal with him. He's going to have to sit in one area of the plane. He's going to have to be in one area. They couldn't even meet. They couldn't go to dinner together. So it was basically like, why do we even have? Why is he even around if he can't do anything? And so for me, like I said, all of a sudden now, this is the reasons why. Look, bro, you're anti-vaccine. You made that abundantly clear. Now it's for you're the people's. You want to be the people's champ. You want to be the people's champ on this. Come on, bro. And the people think about how many people now with Kyrie. The very people that told the man to shut up and dribble. Those are the people that's trumpeting his cause now. And he don't think like, yeah, you see, that's right. I done got them to come around. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. And a lot of those people that are trumpeting that cause that say shut up and dribble, guess what they are, Skip? Vaccinated. Ted Cruz, vaccinated. A lot of those guys, vaccinated. But they're telling you, don't get vaccinated. Stand your ground. The very people that told you, hey, all them protests when you and George Floyd and Butter Anthem, they were telling you need to get fired, you need to lead the country. Now they on your team. Okay.
I've told you all along, Kyrie wants to be seen as something beyond just a basketball player, which is great. He wants to be viewed as a visionary, an against-the-grain, deeper thinker, a rebel with a cause. He wants to be all that, and we're great with that. But you can't do it within the confines of a team.
Well, Skip, how you going to say you're a scientist and you talk about the earth is flat? And then say, really? I'm supposed to take you serious on more serious issues when you say, I don't believe really?
Okay. So he is supposed to be paid $33 million by a league that's doing everything in its power to protect the product. And the way to maximize your ability to avoid COVID is for everybody to get vaccinated. They're just trying to protect what they're selling. If they can't sell their product, it's hard for them to pay you $33 million, right? If you're going to take their money, you have to go along with the restrictions that require you to get vaccinated, right?
Remember how the NFL salary cap, how it dropped because they didn't have butts in the stands? You remember the NBA, they had to take a pause. There wasn't no money coming in, and they had to have a condensed season, and then they had to turn around and play right back again 2-3 months later.
Well, they had to take pay cuts.
Right. And so you see what happened? So there's like, look, those billionaires, they want their money. That little $33 million, think about it, Skip. If somebody's willing to pay you, even though you're not going to work, say, we're going to pay you half your salary, how much money do they have? But they say they want their money, and they want butts in the stands to see them. So I get it. Kyrie, he wants to be this great messenger. But I don't know if this is the message that he should be trying to get behind. Because if you'd have said that from the beginning, okay, maybe I could have okay, well, Kyrie. But now all of a sudden you've shifted. I ain't anti-vaccine. I'm just anti-people being forced to get the vaccine in order to keep their job, to keep the economy going, to keep America open. That's what I'm against. Really? That's what you're against? I don't know where it was when they shut everything down. I don't know how it was where he was. But how here in California, when I say they shut everything down, they shut everything down. Skip, I could do the centipede in the middle of the 405, wasn't a car in sight. So when I don't want to go back there, Skip. I'm not a big go person, but I kind of like going to the restaurant. I kind of like going to a movie.
I got you.
And the sooner we can get back, hopefully at some point in time, we can remove the masks. That would be really nice.
We're still in masks here.
Yes.
Right? All I know is in the end, in the long term, Kyrie is in danger of messaging himself out of the league.
Yes.
Because at some point, the league's just going to say, okay, go on.
Yeah.
We don't need you.
And all them people that gassing you up, they're broad, trust me. All them people that's gassing you up, talking about stick to your guns, Kyrie, they ain't got no money to pay no bills. they ain't going to be sending you nothing. They're not going to start no GoFundMe account.
No.
No mercy. One of John Gruden's leaked emails asserted that the league pressured the Rams to draft the openly gay defensive end Michael Sam in the 2014 NFL draft. Jeff Fisher, who coached the Rams at the time, defended himself on Twitter yesterday, both praising Sam while saying, quote, the NFL never encouraged or discouraged me regarding the selection of a potential prospect. So, Shannon, what is your reaction to this?
Skip, this is the collateral damage of John Gruden's email. So basically anybody that he mentioned or that had communications for some point in time going to get dragged into this. And they're going to have to offer an explanation. Okay, so what is John talking about? And this was Jeff Fisher saying, I don't know where John got that from, because that did not happen. The NFL did not pressure us, did not ask us to select or not select a player. Skip, I remember being on your show, and I just told you, I said, Skip, I don't think he's very good. I said, he's a one-trick guy. I said, he's a guy that Michael Sam's. I said, he's a guy, if he can't beat you with speed, he's neutralized. I said, he doesn't have flexibility. He doesn't bend very well. He doesn't have a secondary move. So, Skip, I understand that he was SEC Defensive Player of the Year. That's the preeminent football conference in America. And normally guys that win awards in that conference, they're draft picks, high draft picks, and they play really well. But I say, Skip, I'm not seeing what people are talking about, and come to find out that he didn't have a secondary move. So for me, Skip, this is John Gruden, some mess that he created. Now he got other people having to answer for things that, and this was a rumor. This was a rumor that was floating around. The SEC Defensive Player of the Year, he had come out that he was openly gay, and all of a sudden there he's sliding down the draft boards. I don't know where he was on people's draft board to begin with, Skip. It would be speculation on my part, and I don't really like to do that when it comes to the draft. I have an idea, like I said, with Michael Parsons. I say, Skip, I think he's going to be very good. I say, because I thought what I've seen of him, they match his measurables.
But what you'd seen was 2 years before.
2 years before. I say, but Skip, he still was able to run and look explosive. So I think it's going to translate. What I saw with Michael Sam's, I was like, Skip, I don't see an explosive guy. And when he got to the combine, Skip, he didn't run particularly fast. He didn't do anything particularly well. So for me, I'm not surprised that he slid down the draft board, and ultimately he wasn't able to stick around in the league. But this is what happens when you have a trail and you say things that are negative about a certain group of people or demographic of people. someone on the receiving end or someone that you're talking about is going to have to offer an explanation for what you were talking about. And this happened to be Jeff Fisher. Well, Jeff Fisher got pressured into taking Michael Sam, yada, yada, yada. So Jeff Fisher had to offer a response to what John Gruden said.
Okay. I see this very differently than you did. But I became a big fan of Michael Sam when he was rising up the draft boards at Missouri. And to your point, he was the SEC co-defensive player of the year. And to your point, when you're that, you're something.
Right.
It's just hard to be that guy in that league and not be something at the next level because these are the pro pipelines.
Right.
Missouri has been a pipeline, obviously Bama and Georgia, and you can just keep on keeping on. They're pipelines to the NFL. So
but it just goes to show you what type of season that he had, Skip, because he didn't go to Bama, he didn't go to Georgia, he didn't go to LSU, he didn't go to Florida, and he was the defensive player of the year at Missouri.
But Missouri had sent a lot of players.
Sean Ray, Coney Ealy. Coney Ealy would have been the Super Bowl MVP had Carolina won. 3 sacks, an interception, forced fumble.
Okay, and he's playing opposite Coney Ealy, and you could say because of that he benefited.
Right, yes.
Okay, I watched a lot of Missouri football that year, and he wreaked some havoc. Michael Sam did. I get you. He ended up not having that bendability, that Gumby move that you have to have that Von Miller has. I've seen some of it so far from Micah.
You see the T.J. Watts. You see the guys that rush the quarterback at the linebacker position on that. They can bend.
Okay. So it was suspicious to me that he lasts to the very bottom of the draft. Late in the 7th round, he gets taken by his quote-unquote home area team.
Correct.
And Columbia's a ways away from St. Louis. But still, they were the St. Louis Rams, and they took him.
Right.
And I thought, what is going on here? Well, when I'm evaluating him, watching the games, I did not care about his orientation. Now, I'm watching a football player. And I thought, this is strange to me. And then it got stranger when he lasted to the 53-man cut, the final cut, but they cut him.
Right.
And I'm thinking, you just cut the co-SEC Defensive Player of the Year? You cut him. And then to verify and validate your point, he goes to my Dallas Cowboys, who just put him on the practice squad. And then I heard and read reports that he wasn't focused on football. It was no longer his priority, that too much of his energy and focus is being sapped by becoming
the spokesman for that community.
For and the face of that movement and that community. Yes. And I get it. And he was very good at that. And that seemed to become his calling more than starring in pro football.
But here's the thing, though, Skip. What he didn't realize that had he made it, he could have been a bigger voice. Well, Carl Nassib, because now Carl Nassib is in the NFL currently. He's playing very well. So that voice, Skip, we out of sight, out of mind. I mean, you go ask the average person who is Michael who? They don't know who that is. But go ask them who Carl Nassib is.
Yeah, now. Okay.
Yes.
So you have to keep your priorities in order. You have to do this. Cart before horse, horse before cart. You got to do the horse first. You need to be the horse.
You got to prioritize. You got football, that. Okay. It can't be that, football.
You have to build your platform in football. Then you can utilize your platform. Yes. And it went the other way around.
Right.
I met him briefly, Michael Sam, at the ESPYs that summer, and he was just overwhelmed. I mean, and he was a big star at the ESPYs, and he was highly featured, and he just looked drained to me because it's a lot of pressure and a lot of responsibility before you've played a snap of training camp. So he lasts about 5 minutes on the practice squad of the Dallas Cowboys, and then he tried the CFL, Canadian Football League, for a brief stint. Didn't work, and then he was gone. Okay.
And let me tell you, because I don't want people to say, well, Shannon said that cause. I don't want to be dismissive.
No.
But I believe in order for you to, if you want to be the face of something, you have to focus on, okay, you're in a professional sport. LeBron James can get voters, can get people out to vote, and you can have all these things. But the most important thing is football. So if he wanted to be the face of a movement, he needed to focus, make sure that the football aspect of it was important and that he stayed visible. And so now as he's rising, he can raise the platform of the cause that he's trying to promote.
Agreed.
So that's what because I don't care. You know, I skip everything. Well, you see what Shannon Sharpe said. He very dismissive of the movement. No, I'm not.
Nope, you're not. Yet in the end, Gruden's email did raise my eyebrows because I thought the same thing.
Right.
I don't know that John has any proof of that.
Right.
If he's just sort of, just spilling that out in an email to a buddy, on the good old boy network.
Because, Skip, you have to understand, the guy went to school in Missouri. Everybody else is passing on him. And at the very last draft pick that they got, they select him, like you said, the local team. And people are like, hold on, wait a minute. Co-defensive player of the year, did nobody else want him?
Yeah.
And that not in the 7th round, the 200 and something pick, his local teams, 2-2, that looked like it's added up to 4. Yeah. So people automatically put to it. Skip,
it came across to me that the NFL had to make a quick call to say, hey, we can't not draft him.
Right.
We, even if you're down on him, somebody's got to take him. How about you?
Right, because it'd have been a terrible PR hit.
Oh.
And the contrary to what the NFL says, Skip, PR is very important to them. It's of utmost importance.
Image is everything.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, like you said, Skip, I don't know if did John Gruden get this from somebody in the league office, or he was just like
shooting from the lip.
One of those things that he was just carrying on about female referees, and maybe he was on one of his rants, Skip, that everything was wrong with the NFL, and this was another thing that I thought that was wrong with the NFL, but so let me put that out.
It's a keyboard rant, not a microphone rant.
Exactly. But that's the thing that's called documentation, Skip. You know what I'm saying? And now, Skip, everything, you go to court, they got the stenographer. Can you read that back? You do realize, like emails, that's a permanent documentation. So now, Skip, more is going to come out. Eventually, you know how these leaks work, Skip. It's a little drip, drip, drip. Then somebody turned the faucet on, and then here come a gusher out. Mm-hmm. That's what's going to happen. He said some other things about some other people. Some other people had some communication on the other end.
I would agree. I don't think we've heard the end of this.
No. People going to start digging. I mean, Skip, you know how people are. They're like, I wonder what else is in there. Let me see if I can find out.
There wasn't much that he wasn't annoyed or, he had something to say about everyone. Everyone had a moment.
He's an equal opportunity offender now. That's one thing. You can't say, well, he just offended one group. Oh, you get some. You get some.
He hit them all.
No mercy.
Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl in 25 years, but the good news is that this current team reminds Stephen Jones of the squad from the 1990s. During a radio interview, Stephen said the team is just as well balanced on offense and defense as those championship teams, and they're also showing the same type of swagger and confidence. Shannon, is there any truth to these comparisons?
Man, Skip, I don't know what this... No! First of all, Stephen Jones is the boy that cried wolf. Because this is what Stephen Jones said in training camp 2019. We believe this roster, because of its depth, is right there with that 90 roster. They went 8-8. In 2015, before the opener, it's showing signs it can be as good as the 90s, any team since the 90s. They went 4-12. So what am I supposed to believe? Skip, you know what? Eventually, if he keeps saying that, he just needs to be right once. It's just like playing the lottery. They got him 3 times a week now, Skip. They got to miss my numbers that I put down on that paper every time they draw. I just got to be right once. And ta-da! You see? Stephen Jones just needs to be right once, and Stephen called it. He called it in 2015. He called it in 2019. He called it. He's been wrong. He just needs to be right. Skip, look, they are playing well. I will concede that. But Stephon Diggs on his best day, on his absolute best day, can't hold a candle to time.
Okay, but time was only there for the last one. Okay, so they had 3 great years, barely losing the NFC Championship game in the third year.
Okay, tell me the guy
with no time.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Tell me the guy that's better than Charles Haley on that defense right now. I give you Stephon Diggs, D-Law, all of them that's coming together. Tell me the guy that's better than Haley.
Micah has potential, but I don't even see Charles, even if I project Micah to the nth degree, I don't see Charles.
Okay.
I told you that the magic move was made by Jerry Jones. This is the one I give him credit for.
Yes.
You can rip him to shreds all you want. But he said, I think I can go talk Carmen Policy, who is running our arch rival in the NFC, into giving me a guy they just can't stand anymore. He has become more trouble than he's worth. And I told you, he was the catalyst for the whole run.
Yes.
Because nobody could block him. 2 couldn't block him. 3 couldn't block him.
But see, Jerry had the easy job, just making the trade. It was Jimmy and the rest of the team that had to deal with Charles on a day-to-day basis.
But he was ready to start fresh.
Yes.
And embrace a new way and a new culture. And it worked.
It worked. It worked because of the personalities that the Cowboys had in the locker room. It took a strong locker room to deal with Charles. And the 49ers could no longer deal with it.
There is no way they would have broken through in 1992, a year ahead of schedule, without Charles Haley being traded. It was just right before the season started.
I still don't believe I think the offensive line is. I don't think the offensive line is close. Now, they got 2 players. When you look at Ty Smith, who I believe is going to go to the Hall of Fame.
He will.
And Zach Martin. But, Skip, that 90s line with Newton, with Tuanay, with Big Easy, Kevin Gogan. Stepnoski was an all-pro at center.
All-pro.
Their best offensive lineman at the time might have been Eric Williams, whose career was cut short, but he wasn't the same player after that car accident, Skip.
He was not.
But he was dominant. So for me, they're playing really well. I won't take that away from them. But I don't think Stephen Jones realized just how good that team was that he had in the 90s.
Well, and he was there. I mean,
but if you can compare it. But here's the thing. This is why he wouldn't compare it if he'd have left Jimmy, because they'd have like 4 or 5 of those things. And so that's why when you come back, all the Patriots team, so 20 years from now, they have a team that win the Super that looks good and promising. Man, they look like those teams from the early 2000s, or they look like the team from the mid-2010s.
Okay.
No.
Okay. You done?
I'm done.
I wrote 3 books on the Dallas Cowboys and 2 on this 90s dynasty. The first was on Tom Landry, sort of to Jerry Jones. But it was the rise and fall of Tom Landry. The second and third books were about this dynasty. So I think I know a little about this dynasty. And yet I am here to tell you, I did not have a problem with the way Stephen couched this, with the comparisons he did make. If you study it and break it down and parse it, I was barely okay. That's all I'm going to tell you. I was barely okay with the way he said it.
Okay, you just saw it up close and personal.
I saw it. So can I frame it by just telling you? I know we're only 5 games in. But so far, Pro Football Focus ranks the Dallas Cowboys as they're on grading. They have graded the Cowboys as the second best team so far to the Cleveland Browns. You can rip that to shreds if you like, but that's what they say. They are grading them far and away the best offense in pro football, and it's not even close over the Bucs, Tom Brady and company, second, and I have a problem with that. I don't think they're better than the Bucs. But I'm just trying to tell you that the receiving core is ranked number 1 so far in grades. They're graded number 1 in the best run blocking line because obviously they're second in rushing statistically. And now if we flip it to the defense, they're graded so far 4th in coverage. Well, my defense was a supreme embarrassment of a liability a year ago. Mike McCarthy keeps saying, I've never seen a side of the ball flipped the way we flipped our defense in the offseason. And I'm starting to buy that because they are now statistically 5th against the run. That's pretty great considering they were getting run off the field all of last year until the bitter end. So now they're 2nd overall in rushing. They're 2nd in takeaways. They're 2nd in turnover differential. And they're 2nd in scoring overall, just barely 2nd in scoring. And they're 2nd in yards and in 3rd down conversions. So they're just barely 2nd to Buffalo and Baltimore in those categories. But my point is, up. I mean, across the board, it's screaming, this is a really good football team. So now what did Stephen say exactly? Well, he started off saying that obviously Troy Aikman was a great leader, which he obviously was. He was the leader of those teams. But he thinks Dak is in the category. Well, I'm going to give you that. Dak is already showing me Aikman-esque command of the franchise. He's become the face of the franchise, and he is living up to his $75 million that he's making. And just in the way he carries himself, the trust factor sort of on and off the field, I'll go Troy Aikman there. He's at least rising into the ballpark with Troy, okay? Then the next point he made was swagger. I'm seeing some of the 90s swagger here. Not all of it, but I saw that team come together because I was there in 89 and 90 and 91. And the 91 swagger that I started seeing is they did barely make the playoffs, and they wound up
lost to the losers to Detroit.
Oh, they got
the doors blown off.
Annihilated. They go in and say, we're going to take Barry Sanders away, and little Eric Kramer threw a party on them. It was 38-6.
Yeah,
it was a wipeout. Okay, Troy did not play in that game. That was a Steve Berline run through the playoffs because they went and won a game at Chicago. Against what was left of Ditka's Bears. Okay, so swagger, I'm seeing that. So I'm going to give you a bingo there that I'm starting to see that kind of body language in this team that I saw in the 90s teams early on. Then he flips it over and he says, on defense, we have similar speed. Well, it wasn't a great defense except for Charles Haley and Darren Woodson, and then Prime comes for the last run against Pittsburgh. It wasn't even fair.
Skip, Leon Lett was really good.
He was good.
I mean, people don't realize how good Big Cat was. They were a rotational team.
Can I put D-Law in the ballpark? Just in the ballpark. Okay, I do. In depth, he talks about we were so deep in the 90s where we could just run them in and out to where in the fourth quarter we're just fresher than you are.
Right.
This defensive line is deep, and Randy Gregory made the Pro Football Focus all-weekly team as first team all-edge, okay? Because he was wreaking havoc albeit against the Giants, but he was all over the field. And I told you, I thought he would have a breakout Pro Bowl-like year. I don't know if he'll actually make the Pro Bowl, but again, I'm seeing that kind of depth. Dorrance Armstrong is a player, but he's not even there. He's coming back, and they're going to go 8 deep, and they can just keep throwing them out there. Okay. And then we move to the fact that he frames this in the end. Stephen Jones says there are a lot of similarities in the two teams, and I'll give you that. But then he ends it with this statement, and you got to take this one to your bank. Now, this team has a lot to prove and a long ways to go before I think you can actually start to compare this team to those teams.
Well, then why you do all that?
Okay, he's just doing the similarities are there. The makings of, you got the leader, you got the swagger, you got the team speed on defense. They got team speed. They can fly.
You know what? Everybody can relate to this at home. Everybody got that homeboy that meets the girl, this the one. Sharpe, this the one, man. I'm talking about, man. She got her own crib, her own ride. She makes 6 figures. Hey, Sharpe, this the one. 2 months later, what happened? Man, please. Sharpe, this the one. Man, dog, listen to your boy now. This is the one. Okay. That's Stephen Jones.
I have been on 5 dates with this team.
No.
5 dates. Okay. And I'm ready to say this is the one.
You quick.
I'm not quick.
Yep.
In the past, I said, I'm not going to jinx it. I'm not going to talk about it. And now I'm all in because I trust this team. It will not embarrass me.
You the guy that goes to the party after 5 songs, you done hugged up with the girl and you there for the rest of the night. And all the dime pieces coming in and now you stuck because they saw you hugged up with her 5 songs into the day. Nah, bro.
I was always.
I know you were. That's true. Now, see, look at you. Now, when Shay come here, scan. Sit back, I'm gonna see play. Wait, let the thing develop. Let it develop, Skip.
I finally hugged up to the right one. I did.
See, if you'd have waited, you'd have had Ernestine 25 years ago. But that was your head hard. See, you that Polaroid. Skip, just let it develop. You take the picture, blood. You remember the old Polaroid?
I know.
Let it develop.
If you went too quick,
you mess it up. Lines all in it. Let it develop. Skip. You're 5 games in. Let it develop.
I saw at GOAT. I saw at Justin Herbert. I saw them demolish 3 straight teams at home. I saw it.
Yeah, it was any of those teams any good.
What did my eye test tell me? It's the same yours were telling you, except you're too afraid to voice it because you know you're in trouble.
Skip. You don't see good out of one eye.
I'm in heaven, you're in trouble.
You don't see good out of one eye.
I got lazy.
They updated that technology. You might need to get it again.
No, I'm good. I'm 15, 2015. I feel like I'm 15 when I see this team.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? 12 and 5.
That's some bull jive.
12 and 5. That's my vision right now. It's 12-5. I got 12-5 vision.
Oh, you gonna go? You go? I guarantee you. I'm gonna give you another 3-4 weeks.
Yeah.
You go? 14-3. It's coming. I know you. It's coming.
We got a big one Sunday at Belichick.
Oh, really? That's a big one now.
Yeah, it's a big one. I don't know how, but we're 4-point favorites at Belichick, the mastermind.
You do know how you
knew?
Dak against Mac Jones, really?
I was trying to figure out what you were doing with this, but you're letting it develop.
Yeah, he making it develop quicker.
Like, what are you doing?
The line's going to be all in and the pitcher going to be messed up.
They came out wet. You know, they were literally wet. You had to let it dry.
You supposed to let it dry, but everybody started trying to speed the process.
Okay.
I got it.
No mercy. Well, we got to see how LeBron, AD, and Russ would work together in last night's game against Golden State. The trio combined for 47 points, but also had 11 turnovers as the Lakers fell to the Warriors for their 5th straight preseason loss. The King was honest about how he and AD are meshing with Russ, saying, quote, "It's going to take a minute for us to become the team that we know we are going to be capable of being. We're going to have moments where we're not quite right there. We may take steps backwards. I think nothing is worth having if it's not worth working for." So, Shannon, a scale of 1 to 10, how much faith do you have that this will work?
8.5.
You don't believe that.
8.5.
No.
But I don't need him to look good today. I don't need him to look good tomorrow. I don't need him to look good 2 weeks from now. I need him to look good April, May, June.
That is correct.
That's what I'm counting on. And I keep telling you, if anybody can solve this problem, it's Pythagoras. That's what LeBron is, Skip. There's not a problem that he cannot solve. You know this, Skip. Why you play with this man? The man has been, half his life has been spent in NBA Finals. So basically, every other year, book it, he's in the final. He missed last year, so what'd that tell you, Skip? Simple math. The man's been in the league 19 years. He's been to 10 finals. So basically, every 1.3 and 3/4 years, he's in the finals. So what'd that tell you? What's going to happen this year, Skip? You already had, don't say it. Don't say it, because you say it 3 times, he'll win it. It's like Candyman.
Really?
You can't say Candyman. Can't say that, Skip. Your day coming. You all this just talking about Brooklyn Nets and Giannis and this and that one. Will LeBron get that trophy this year? I don't want to hear nothing. I want you to say that he the GOAT. I want you to say it. I want you to do a video like you be all during the game, how you be tweeting and getting on your little thing, little IG and saying all this foolishness.
You stalk me.
There ain't nobody stalking you. I want you to say LeBron the GOAT. It's going to take some time. It's not a natural fit. It's going to take LeBron time to get used to Russ. Russ used to playing with AD and LeBron. And then you got to factor in Carmelo and Kendrick Nunn and Malik Monk and Wayne Ellington and Rondo and Dwight. So it's going to take some time, maybe even longer than I originally thought. But at the end of the day, as long as the meal comes out okay, I was supposed to eat at 5:30. It's going to be 6:15, 6:30 before I eat.
Yep.
Is the food good? Is the product going to be good? This one's going to be on the court? That's all I care about. The product's going to be great. Champions.
You're going to be waiting all night for that. You ready for this?
Yes.
Won't win it, won't win it, won't win it. Come on, Candyman, come get me. Right?
Okay.
LeBron's Candyman, he's got to come get me.
Okay.
I did it 3 times.
Yep, you did.
I dared you.
You're going to be sorry.
What is the ultimate Pythagorean theory? It is LeBron plus Russell Westbrook equals nuclear explosion of the wrong kind. It's going to be tumultuous for you because as great as LeBron is, and I always give you that, as great a passer as he is, still the best passer in basketball, still the highest basketball IQ in the NBA. He is conceding the keys to the kingdom to Russell Westbrook, who is going to be on a tear, having grown up in this area as a huge Laker fan, to take over this team for an aging LeBron. That is a recipe for disaster. You know it, and I know it. And I've only seen now Russ for 6 total quarters and 3 preseason games, and I realize it's very early. But it's getting late for your Lakers because he's already playing completely out of control. 6 quarters, he's a minus 27 in plus minus through those 6 quarters.
He hadn't been good, Skip.
You know, 20 turnovers in 6 quarters.
That's not good
he
either.
Goes 6 the first night, 9 the second night, and 5 more last night. And what did I tell you to death before camp even opened? I kept reminding you, Russell Westbrook has led this league in turnovers 4 times and finished second 4 times. He sometimes threatens to have quadruple doubles, as in double-figure turnovers to go along with all those other great double figures that he pulls off, and it's just extraordinary what he's done, averaging a triple-double for the last 5 years. He is a solo act. He is a stat machine. But to achieve the triple-doubles, it requires some collateral damage, and it requires him to play out of control. He attacks, he attacks, he attacks. He speeds the pace. He rushes the pace. He is prone to dribbling it off his foot or throwing it out.
We need the pace pushed occasionally, but at the end of that pushing, we just can't have him turn the ball over.
Okay.
It doesn't do no good to get down to court in a hurry if you turn the ball over.
Okay. Now let's go deeper. Allow me to read a quote from the great John Hollinger in his Laker preview in The Athletic. And John, for those who don't remember, invented my favorite stat, PER, player efficiency rating, and then went on from ESPN to run the Memphis Grizzlies as their personnel director for a while. He knows his basketball. In his Lakers preview, if I could read this for you.
Go ahead.
In a postseason environment, the 3 of them, meaning obviously LeBron, AD, and Russ, would be sharing the floor more often. And Westbrook doesn't add much to that particular equation. He's a subpar shooter off whom opponents will cheat and dare to fire away. Late in games, when obviously LeBron James wants to handle the ball up top and slowly orchestrate, which he's great at, Westbrook's defender will be chilling in the paint to gum things up. Bingo. All that might be okay if the Lakers follow their 2020 model of playing awesome defense and passable offense.
There you go.
But Westbrook will hurt them on that end too. Despite his athleticism and his competitiveness, he's a wandering, ball-watching defender who frequently runs himself out of position. I'm already going. LeBron says it's going to take a minute. I'm giving him 5 minutes. I'm giving you to April. I'm giving you to May. And that's what Hollinger's summary here is. In a postseason environment, you have the 3 on the floor. Russ is a liability of a shooter. He is the worst superstar shooter we've ever seen in the history of this league. LeBron's not exactly a great shooter. AD's an okay shooter from mid-range, but when he gets to the three-point line, he's not a great shooter. So you've got liabilities everywhere, and especially off Russ, they will sink. They'll just sink into the paint and say, Bron, because what was LeBron doing last night early? Great. He was just driving the ball to the basket. You can't stop him. He's still playing at a supremely high level off the dribble because he's just a load, man. He's just hard to stop, and he's still explosive. That. I saw it early. He made 3 drive shots to the basket. They were big time, and he made his first 3, and then he didn't make any more, and he's so far 1 of 7 from 3 in the preseason. No big deal, but it's a deal.
Hit him 2 free throws, too.
Okay? We'll see about that. But there are too many liabilities here where if Russ's defender just says, I don't have to guard him, I'll just sink. I'll just go stand in the paint and say, LeBron, I'm going to help make sure you can't come in here. AD, you can't come in here either. You're going to have to shoot those mid-range, and if they don't fall, we got you. Because when AD gets hot from 15 feet, as you know, then he's unstoppable. I got you. If LeBron has a rare hot hand on his fadeaway, he made one last night. It was good. It was good. But he doesn't make enough of those on a consistent basis. So in the big picture, Russ can do great things on pushing the pace because he's still, I'm not sure there's anybody faster in the league with the ball in their hands.
Right.
I thought Lonzo was at points, but Russ, at his advancing age, what are we up to now? Season 12, right?
Russ, 14.
Yeah, no, 14. What am I saying? Yeah. Okay. So, but he still looked fast last night with the basketball. Yeah. The problem is he goes too fast sometimes, and LeBron, who wants to play a clean game, he's got to live with that. So I thought last night that I was already seeing that Russ, in the wrong way, was rubbing off on LeBron, that LeBron was catching turnover fever from Russell. LeBron just seemed out of whack, out of rhythm.
I think LeBron was trying, sometimes you try things that, okay, let me see what I can get away with. I don't think LeBron's going to be a turnover guy. He averaged probably 3 turnovers for his career because he handles the ball so much. I just hope my thing is that Russ understands his role and the role that he can play in helping this team, that we don't need him to be heroic. We don't need him to be...
Right, but that's who he is. He thinks of himself as heroic, and I think it's significant that LeBron attended the premiere of this documentary that's going to drop on Friday. It was on Monday night here in Los Angeles. Yeah. It's Passion Play, Russell Westbrook. Yeah. It's Life and Times.
But that's LeBron. LeBron has always supported his team.
He wants to take him under his wing. He wants to be besties with him. He wants to try to commit to Russ on a friendship level, where Russ will be more open to sacrificing the way he's going to have to sacrifice if you're going to overcome him and win.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then LeBron tweeted about the doc, said, y'all check this out when it drops on Friday.
Yeah.
And I'll check it out, but it's going to feed Russ's ego. And now he feels like I'm on the LA stage that I was born to play on, and I got to live up to, I got my own documentary.
No, he ain't got to live up to that. He already done that. You got the documentary because of what you did. You don't have to prove anything else. You just got to prove you can win a championship. And that's what it's going to do. That's what he's going to do.
Okay, but how do you take his egomania out of him? How do you undo the egomania at this stage, this age, on this platform? He's the only one on the team who grew up here as a huge Laker fan.
Yeah,
right?
and he's the one that's few on the team that ain't won no championship, especially in the starting lineup.
That is
Russ
correct.
AD has one, LeBron has one, Dwight Howard has one, Rondo has 2, Horton Tucker. So if you want to win, and Russ has said it, the one thing this guy, LeBron, knows how to do is get to NBA Finals. Mm-hmm. Now, it's his job to help LeBron get there and win. Not once they get there.
Does Russ really, truly want to win, or does he just want to start?
He want to win.
Does he?
Yeah, Skip, he done starred. He won't start. He just want a top grossing movie now.
Okay. Well, are you sure about that? I'm not. As great as LeBron is, I don't think he can overcome what I'm already seeing from
LeBron
Russell
overcame
Westbrook.
Kyrie in his mercurial ways. Who else has been able to do that?
Yeah, but Kyrie, in the end, made the shot of shots to win Game 7.
Who else has been able to do that? I mean, he's already think about what he did when he went to Boston, and think about what he's doing now. He take times off, and now he's not going to even play.
You see Russ making a 3 to win a Game 7 for LeBron?
And one.
I don't.
I see an and one driving to the basket.
Like the old-fashioned way? Yeah. Okay.
Too small.
Yep.
Now what Russ going to do, rock him, Russ.
Yep. He's your new point guard. That is my point.
Okay.
That's all you need to know.
Have that energy come Christmas.
I will. I think it's going to take way longer than Christmas.
Nah, Christmas is all it takes.
Guys, we got other stuff to discuss here.
No mercy.
This week, Thursday Night Football is on Fox. Tom Brady and the Bucs are on a roll, but Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, and the Eagles might have something special for them in Philly. Tomorrow, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific on Fox, NFL Network, and streaming on Prime Video. With Kyrie Irving not joining the Nets until he is able to fully participate, many made the connection that the best solution could be a deal with the 76ers for Ben Simmons, who wants out of Philly. Yeah, we know that by now. But according to The Athletic, the 76ers have no interest in such a trade. We're now joined by First Things First co-host Chris Broussard. Chris, what does this tell you? What's the latest here?
Well, look, Jen, as a fan and for selfish reasons, I would love for Brooklyn and Philadelphia to swap Kyrie Irving for Ben Simmons. And I throw in Seth Curry from Philly to make that deal work financially. But it would be awesome. I think it would make Brooklyn virtually unbeatable. And on paper, it would make Philadelphia vastly improved. The problem is we all know how unreliable Kyrie Irving is. He's unpredictable and he's high maintenance. And because of those reasons, I got to be honest, I don't blame Philadelphia for having no interest in Kyrie. Let me count the ways. Number one, it is possible that if he got traded to the Sixers, he might retire. He loves being at home in New Jersey. He lives like 10 minutes from me max. and he loves this area, so he's at home. He might retire if he got traded. Number two, even Kyrie's unreliable, even if vaccination status isn't a question mark, right? Even if that's not a factor, will he just take off for a week or two because there might be some crisis in the country? Remember, he did that a couple years ago, January 6th, with the invasion of the Capitol. He just took off. Maybe he needs a mental health day or week. You never know with Kyrie. And then thirdly, he's injury prone. He hasn't played 70 games in his last 4 seasons, and 4 different seasons in the playoffs, he's been injured at critical moments. All right, LeBron might have another title in 2015 had Kyrie not gotten hurt in the finals. And then in 2018, his first year in Boston, he's out for the entire postseason. 2020, his first year in Brooklyn, he's out for the entire postseason. Last year, he gets hurt and misses the last 3 games. That's not his fault. Anybody can get injured, but he obviously is injury prone. So he missed the last 3 games against Milwaukee last year. So all of those reasons, on top of that, even though he's the strongest personality in Brooklyn, he's not a leader. All right. And that's why when Kyrie's the best player on the team and the undisputed leader, they struggle. We saw it in Boston. They were better without him, went to the Eastern Conference Finals without him. He comes back and they go out in the second round in 5 games. Brooklyn, his first year there, when KD's out, they played better, won more games without him. So Kyrie in Brooklyn, it was good because he's the 3rd best player. And even though he's a strong personality, they still have 2 superstars who are better than him. So it can work there. But in Philadelphia, even though Embiid would be the best player, Kyrie's got the ball in his hands most of the time, and he's probably a stronger personality even than Embiid. So, and finally, guys, Kyrie can be a free agent after this season. So if he could go to Philadelphia, not be happy, and then walk. Ben Simmons has 4 years left on his deal. He is a valuable trade asset for the Philadelphia 76ers. So they want to get not only a top player who can help them this year, but a top player that's locked up for at least a few years if they replace him with Ben Simmons, or replace Ben Simmons with him. So for all those reasons, I just can't see. I hate to say it because I'd love to see the trade made. But if I'm a GM, I can't risk trading for Kyrie Irving. The only team that might do it would be maybe in Oklahoma City, which takes on big contracts. We saw him trade for Chris Paul. You know, they'll take on a big contract, use it as a trade asset or something like that. But as great as Kyrie is, where's he a fit? He's just unreliable. I know this, lastly, in 2020 when he was a free agent with Durant, there were teams that would not have taken Kyrie by himself. They would have taken him to get Kevin Durant and those two as a duo, but by themselves, they didn't want Kyrie because of all the reasons that I mentioned.
All the reasons that we're seeing currently. And you're absolutely right. Whatever the term you want to use, Chris, be it moody, be it mercurial, be it aloof, whatever the case may be, Kyrie is all of those. So I think we might need to give LeBron a little bit more kudos because he was able to make it work for 3 years. And they got the 2 NBA finals and they won one. So give LeBron kudos for having to deal with that because seemingly no one else can.
I co-sign that.
And Chris, it was reported, Woj reported that ownership and Sean Marks consulted Kevin Durant and James Harden. It's hard for me to believe that they made a decision about Kyrie moving in this direction without the blessings of James Harden and Kevin Durant. Even friends get tired of other friends' bullshit. And that's what it seems to me. Bro, we made sacrifices. Everybody got to make a sacrifice. James Harden said it. We can win a lot if we do things the right way. Kevin Durant just want to hoop. He ain't trying to answer questions after every game about Kyrie's vaccination status. What, would you have won this game if you had Kyrie? Do you think you could win a championship without Kyrie? Kyrie. And Kevin Durant like, Kyrie's not here. And they finally came to the decision, well, Kyrie's not going to be here until he can be a full-time participant. We don't do the part-time. And I give the Nets credit because they're going to pay his salary for the games that he's not going to be playing at all. So a road game, they're going to pay his salary. it makes no sense to me that Kyrie now all of a sudden he's shifted his stance. It's not that he's anti-vaccine. It's the fact that, all of a sudden I'm the people's champ for people that's losing their job because of the vaccine mandate. Man, nobody buying that, Kyrie. And for me, I agree with you. I think some one of these teams that needs to try to fill an arena that's not going to be in a championship caliber team, they'll be willing to trade for Kyrie. But if I'm a championship caliber team and I need to depend on something, skip how many times, man, he was a good worker. If he was just dependable, man, he could not joke. No, he could work on a car, but man, ain't no telling when he gonna show up and when he gonna have your thing. That's Kyrie.
Yep.
If he was just dependable, he's not. He's not dependable, and he's injury prone.
Yep.
And with those mood swings, nah, I'm good.
I think just about the rest of the league is about to be good on Kyrie, which is going to be bad for Kyrie. And by the way, Chris Broussard, you laid it out beautifully and powerfully why he's getting close to being untradeable. He's getting close. He's getting close to finding himself on the outside looking in, because as Shannon Sharpe has told me from the start, the NFL, the NBA, MLB, they will move on.
Yes.
At some point, you're not indispensable anymore. He has been up to this point, but now he's going on 30 years of age in March. And I think the Nets finally sat back yesterday and said, well, wait a second. Do we really, really need him? Obviously, they're better with him, obviously, because they were solid favorites without him. But if you take him out of the equation, which they just did, are they still favorites? Maybe slight favorites?
Sure,
because I'm looking at this roster. Yeah, look at this. Obviously, you start with KD. I think he's the best player on the planet. And the fit with James last year was sensational because James said, I'll be the point guard. And Kyrie, to his credit, said, you be the point guard. And it worked at the highest level. Well, all of a sudden, I say, well, you added Patty Mills and LaMarcus Aldridge came back.
Blake came back.
Millsap is with you now to give you some quality veteran depth. And James Johnson came and he gives you some veteran toughness. And Blake's still there, and Bruce Brown is still there, and Joe Harris is still there. And listen, Nicholas Claxton last year, every time I saw him, remember he was the first pick in the second round. He's 6'11". He was causing some problems. So I'm looking at that roster saying, well, time out. It's still pretty good. It's not as good, but it's pretty good without him. So they're just saying, we're done with you unless you do want to get vaccinated and come do what all the rest of us are doing to try to protect the product that is the National Basketball Association. So I'm with Chris. As a basketball fan, would I love to see this trade just basketball for basketball? It's beautiful. It's like, thank you, God, for both teams, until you start thinking about the intangibles in the trade, which are all on Kyrie's side, and they're all wrong.
And both of you guys are right, because what we're starting to find out, Chris, is that it's always something. Remember when he was in Cleveland, it was like, well, LeBron was trying to do this, and LeBron was so overbearing, and Kyrie just wanted to get out from up under that. And then he goes to Boston. And then whatever, I don't know what transpired, but it was something in Boston. And now he's at Brooklyn. In an ideal situation, you can't get a utopia that's better than this. You got the best player, and James Harden's the top 5, top 6 player. And you got that, and paired with Kyrie, who's a top 10, 11, 12 player. So you got an ideal situation.
And by the way, this is the franchise you grew up loving in your home area, right?
And for whatever reason, Chris, now it's all. So in other words, teams are starting to say, man, it's always something. At some point in time, the common denominator, Cleveland, now Boston, and now the Nets, the common denominator in all three situations is Kyrie.
And look, for all of Ben Simmons' faults, I think he has high character. I think they trust him from night to night to show up and play. Right?
So you mean to tell me he ain't gonna call and say, I ain't gonna be able to come tonight? Hey, Chris, I mean, can you do that to the job?
No,
you just show, you called, you got a Monday show, you call Wednesday. Hey, Nick, I'm sorry, man, I ain't gonna be able to make it this week, even though I done missed 2 days, but I will get back at some point in time. Who does that? Let that sink in for a second, Skip. You take off and you don't even tell your bosses you leaving.
I got it. You do it because you can get away with it. And I think they just called his hand and his bluff and said, nope, you can't do it anymore.
I think Kevin Durant and James Harden tired of his BS, too.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, look,
interesting.
I agree with you, Skip. I think they're still the favorites without him.
Yeah.
I think where they could miss him is in the clutch.
Sure.
Right? I think
got it.
Harden likes having Durant and Kyrie in the clutch where he doesn't have to worry about having a huge game because those two can. So that might be where they miss him.
It's a good point. Like, it'll be the games where it's down to the wire, and what if he was a part of this one?
But what if that game is in the clutches in Brooklyn?
Weight falls.
Oh, he won't be there.
I don't know how this plays out. Chris, thanks for weighing in today. Appreciate your time.
No mercy.
Don't miss your chance to win $25,000 of Terry Bradshaw's money on the Fox Bet Super 6 app, where players have won over $5 million total. Last week, there were 6 jackpot winners of the Thursday Night Football contest, and you could be next. So scan the QR code, download the app, and answer 6 questions about tomorrow night's Bucks-Eagles game for your shot to win. It is completely free to play, so why not give it a try, win some money. Moving on, guys. Former All-Pro and Super Bowl champ Darrelle Revis spent just 1 year in New England, but from that season, he was able to realize Tom Brady's greatness when asked who deserved more credit for the Patriots dynasty. Revis said it was, quote, TB12, 100%. He also threw some shade at Bill Belichick, saying, quote, nobody likes it in that locker room. Shannon, the Patriots are underdogs. Big game against the Cowboys this weekend. So how much pressure is on Bill Belichick right now?
The pressure is always on him, Skip, because it's just like with Tom. Skip, once you've had success doing something, you're only measured by the greatest success that you've had. And Super Bowls is the greatest success that you can have as a coach or a player. So that's how you're measured. Tom Brady isn't measured by winning division titles. He's only measured by Super Bowl. Coach Belichick is not measured by, oh, they finished first in the division or they went this far in the playoffs. He's only measured by championships. And so you look at 50 Cent. He's measured to Get Rich or Die Trying, his first album. Eminem, his first album. That's what you're measured to. When you have that level of success, nothing else matters. But Skip, we've been trying to say this for years, and everybody, when they're in that locker room, what they're saying now, they push back against us. When we said they weren't having fun, and they didn't like, oh, we love him, he's so fun, and he's the Bill that you see publicly and the Bill that we know is so differently.
But they just kept saying winning is fun.
Right. And come to find out, and I've said this before on the other network, I said Coach Belichick makes it real easy for you to root against him.
Yeah.
Because he's so condescending, he's so dismissive, he's so smug and so arrogant that he makes it easy for you to mention him. He said the tension that's in the locker room when you come in, that's the way he coaches out of fear. And Tom is just the opposite.
Yep.
Everybody likes Tom. Everybody likes playing with Tom. Everybody likes being around Tom. Yes, Skip, I like winning, but I can't wait to get away from you. That's what they're thinking with Coach Belichick. Yes, we love the byproduct, but man, we sure would like to win with somebody else. And that's what Tom basically said. Yep. Tom, like, man, the way they do it up there, that's archaic. And come to find out, there are other ways that you can win and have fun while doing it.
Yep.
But there's immense pressure on Coach Belichick because of what Tom went and did without him.
That is correct. I know Darrelle Revis, and when he speaks, I listen. So I'm going to reiterate some of the things that he spoke. He said, it's a lot of pressure every time you walk in that door, meaning the locker room door. He said, there's a lot of tension because you just don't know what's going on. You don't know what Mr. Kraft's doing. You don't know what Bill's doing. You just don't know. It is motivation by fear of the unknown, not sure what's happening.
Yes.
Just do your job. Keep your nose to the grindstone and do your job. There's no love there. It's fear. And as long as he had Brady as his buffer in the locker room telling everybody, it's just okay. It's the way he is. Just do what he says and we're going to be okay.
And it makes it easier, Skip, when you see him talk to Brady like that, you're like, well, if he talks to me like that, well, he's talking to Tom like that, it's okay. Because I don't believe he could have got away for it as long as he did. If he didn't have a Tom Brady, a guy that was that high, and you talk to him like, man, they'd have been went upside Coach Belichick head. You can't talk to grown men like that.
They would have mutinied. They would have rebelled a long, long time ago. But as long as Tom was there, it worked. And Darrelle concluded, it is a little bit strenuous because nobody likes it in the locker room. He says, that's just to be honest. Nobody likes it.
Yes.
And I believe that, including Tom Brady.
Yes.
He loved the outcomes, obviously. He cherished his time there, his growth there.
Right.
And obviously, how can you not cherish what you achieved?
What you accomplished, yes.
But he knows he had to rise above the coach and a lot of what the coach was doing as the personnel director, because he's the GM, he wears all the hats.
Right.
And the talent started to dwindle around Brady. So he's got to overcome the coach in the locker room and on the practice field and the lack of talent around him on the football field. So the point is that Bill is on notice now because of the Seth Wickersham book and all the excerpts.
About Tom, we talked about it. I was like, Skip, this is it. When they redid his contract, because it was reported that Tom wanted a 2-year extension that would take him till he's 45. And Coach Belichick said no. And Mr. Kraft, remember I told you, I said, now, Tom won this one with Mr. Kraft. I said, the next time around, he's not going to win it because Mr. Kraft is going to side with Coach Belichick.
He did.
See, where I get differentiate with Darrell is that I know what Mr. Kraft is doing. Mr. Kraft is doing whatever Coach Belichick says.
Okay.
That's what he's doing.
All right. So Bill Belichick is now on the clock, and you can certainly argue on the hot seat. They are 2-3. They lost, though barely, to Brady in Foxborough. And then they went to Houston, and they survived unimpressively.
Correct.
Is that fair?
Yes.
That's what happened. They survived.
And that loss to the Dolphins looks even worse now.
It's looking pretty bad because the Dolphins are pretty hopeless, hapless looking on even defense. You shredded them for what happened at Brady the other day. So here come the Dallas Cowboys, the upstart Cowboys. They're better than most people expected they would be, including me.
Right.
And it's fluctuating, but they're 4 to 4.5 point favorites, which is pretty significant for a game in Foxborough that I chalked up when I did my 12-5 prediction. I put an L beside the one at Patriots. That was when I did this, I thought Cam might be the quarterback.
There you go. That's what I was thinking, because I was like, Skip, they can be, look at their first 4, 5, 6 games, Skip, I think they can be 4-2, 5-1. But I was under the mindset like you were. Cam's going to be the starter.
So it's Mac Jones, and he's played about as well as you could expect him to play, but he's still a rookie. And he did some rookie things at Houston, but they overcame him and got away with it. If you fall to 2-4, if Dallas does go in there and continues to flex its new star power and its new offense, defense muscles, and you lose that game, I think you're going to start to be exposed. Excuse me. And you're going to have to wonder, is he going to mellow? Is he going to loosen his vice grip on this locker room and this team? Because at some point, if you're desperate enough, you're going to have to try to change on the fly, and I don't know if he's capable.
But here's the thing. The style that Coach Belichick displayed only works if you're winning. That's why it's never worked in Detroit. No. It didn't work in Houston. It didn't work anywhere.
Patricia tried to instill that in Detroit, and they said
Bill O'Brien tried to instill that in Texas. And Josh McDaniels tried to do it. And it only works if you win. He better start winning in order to keep that iron fist, that thumb on everybody's neck, because they're like, bro, what you talking about? That BS don't work. It worked, but did it work because of you, or did it work because of the guy that's not down in Tampa?
And Reeves is saying that guy.
So you better start winning some ball games, because all that stuff is back. Focus, do your job. Okay, I'm doing my job, but we ain't winning. Why?
No mercy. J.R. Smith's NCAA golfing debut, well, it's had a few bumpy starts. His first day resulted in him finishing 81st of 84 golfers, and day 2 wasn't smoother. JR said he was stung by hornets yesterday during the final round of his first tournament. JR would finish his second day where he started in 81st place. This is horrible luck. Shannon, where does he go from here?
Well, you just keep hanging in there. I mean, I hope he didn't think it was going to be easy, because, he was a professional athlete, played at the elite level in one sport, and you just come over and be at elite level. It doesn't work like that, Skip. So you just keep plugging away, and hopefully he gets better and he can do better.
If he actually got stung by hornets in the middle of this round and he finished the round, that's miraculous to me. To me, this is not fair. He finished 81st of 84 players in the Elon Invitational, featuring teams from Gardner Webb and George Mason. And in the end, the world is watching him. Well, he can't live up to this.
Skip.
I just don't know how much more he can take of this, because he said all the NBA players are following his scores.
Skip, here's the thing. Those guys he's playing against, they're on golf scholarships.
Oh, I got it.
That'd be like a golfer trying to go compete in college basketball. They're on scholarship. Those guys he's going against are on scholarship.
That is it for Undisputed. We're back same time tomorrow. The Herd is on now. Have a good one.
Before you go, enjoy this clip from a special postseason episode of Flippin Bats, featuring my interview with A-Rod and Big Papi. What's up, everyone? I'm Ben Verlander, host of Flippin Bats, here with two absolute icons. It's October, it's playoff baseball. Who better to talk to than two former MVPs, studs? It's October. Let's talk about it. What is one of your guys' favorite playoff memories? If you have one moment that comes to mind in your careers, what would it be? Favorite postseason memory? A-Rod, we'll start with you.
I think we're overdressed because Ben looks like he looks clean.
I know, dude.
clean. So Ben, I mean, this guy has tons, but for me, one of the best moments, besides the last out of the World Series against Philly, I would say the home run against Joe Nathan when we were down in the ninth inning, 2-run homer, bomb to right center field. Stadium went nuts. That was a moment that I'll never forget.
I remember that well. Papi?
You tell him what is mine.
I know what yours is.
Too many.
I had the opportunity.
You can't just pick just one, Papi. You have a library.
I had the opportunity to live, really good moment during the playoff. But, we battled against these guys big time. In the 2004 bouncing back playoff, it was incredible. Think about this. You look at the lineup that these guys have and the pitching staff, and it was something that this is a time still that I have issues believing that we bounce back against that team. The night before, like the third game that they beat us, they scored like 18 runs. And I thought it was no way to get through the lineup. And we did. I still haven't, every time I talk about it, I still get good balls.
Ben, one sidebar story on that, Theo Epstein, the great Theo Epstein that broke 2 curses, unfortunately. He said it best, and he summarized it into a very simple phrase, which was, in 03, I thought the Red Sox were better, meaning him, than the Yankees, and the Yankees won. In 04, he thought the Yankees were better, and they won. So, Papi, that's baseball.
Hey, that's baseball, man.
Papi, you got one that sticks with me forever. I was in the stands, your grand slam. You got the bullpen cop going like this in the bullpen. Corey Hunter, I was in the stands for that. That one sticks with me forever.
I gotta tell you this. I curse that cop because every picture he takes now is like that.
Most famous cop in Boston. But I remember watching at home, Ben, and that was first pitch fastball. I couldn't believe Benoit, who's Dominican, but he's a split monster. And out of all people, sometimes you do silly stuff. He tried to surprise Papi. Papi was waiting for the first pitch fastball, and boom, another magical moment for Big Papi.
You haven't been easy on my life either. You got 3,000 off my brother. I'm sure you remember that one well.
Well, that was a routine fly ball. We were laughing about it. I was like, hey, thanks, Justin.
Guys, right now in the playoffs, Randy Arozarena, he seems to turn into a different player. Who's somebody that comes to mind that you played with or against that became a monster in October? Papi, I'll start with you.
Wow, man, I got the experience I got the opportunity to play with so many great players while I play. But, when you compete against guys like this guy, Derek Jeter, Bernie Williams, Max Giambi, I had to see these guys pretty much every year during the playoff. And it's like, oh my God, there you go again. You got to compete against the best of the best. The guy with experience, with the talent, and with the mentality. Good to go. So, it was like every time you walk into the playoff, especially playing in a East Division, it's like, okay, let's put the gloves on. You already know that.
And for me, three great players, all three of them, 2 already Hall of Famer, 1's going to be a Hall of Famer. But when you look at Randy Arozarena, what you see is a guy that's good that goes to great. The three players that I can think of are Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera, and Big Papi. And the reason why is they're great all the time, but then they become superhuman in October. And uniquely what I thought I learned from Mariano Rivera was the following, was that it didn't matter if we're in Tampa in spring training or at the All-Star game or just a boring game, if you can call that, in the Bronx in May. Mariano Rivera is the same in every single one of those, including Game 7 of the World Series. He's always the coolest guy in the room. He never sees anybody sweat, works out better than anybody, quietly, subtle, and is just a true professional, wow. Much like Papi and much like Derek Jeter.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Is there anybody in the league right now, A-Rod, we'll start with you, anybody in the league right now that reminds you of you?
I would say Carlos Correa is, for me, someone that I look at very impressive. He was stronger than me at that age, but his ability to play defense, he's strong, great arm, loves to play. I think he's a guy in the free agent market, Papi, that's going to attract incredible dollars, and he's going to be one of these guys that's actually going to earn it and be worth every dollar.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy that you pick him, because when I first met him when he was like 15, mm-hmm. I was playing a game where the Baltimore Orioles facility was down in
Sarasota?
No, they were in closest to Miami.
Lauderdale.
Yeah. And he came to say hi to me, and first thing I thought about was you when I first met him. Yeah, big shoulder kid, beautiful smile, with the mentality, I 15, and I thought about you. And in my case, if there's someone that I get very familiar with, there's two players that I get very familiar with. It's Dever and Alvarez for the Houston Astros.
Jordan.
They had that beautiful swing. I would say their swing is prettier than mine. Mine was okay, let me swing hard just in case I run into something. But they had that beautiful level swing, that you can see how long their bat stayed through the strike zone. And besides that, their mentality at that age, is incredible.
Ben, if you don't mind, I'm going to co-host with you because I have a question that I'm very intrigued. Where's the camera that we're looking at? That one right there? All right, so Papi, you're the greatest clutch hitter I've ever played with or against. Look into that camera, and there's millions of kids out there. Mm-hmm. What advice in kind of 30 seconds to a minute can you tell kids out there, if you want to be a clutch hitter like me, do what?
I will tell you this. Preparation goes hand in hand with what you want to do during the game. We all know how early we get to the field, and we all know how we got to get prepared, how we got to do our homework to get prepared for the game. You can never play the game with an empty mind. Your mind has to be 100% in it. If you have any problem, any issues, leave it at the parking lot and pick it up once you're done with the game. But in the game, while you're playing, your mentality got to be there. You got to go pitch by pitch, account by account, see how they pitch into the guy in front of you and the guy after you. So you make up your mind. See how the guy deal with you in prior at bat, and think about what you want to do during this at bat. If you want to looking for the pitch, if he's feeling good about his fastball that night, if he's feeling comfortable with his breaking ball, if he throw it to you and he executed right. All those little things you got to keep in mind so you get the result that you are looking for towards them.
Ben, I got to tell you, and Karen's a big Yankee fan, but Karen, you like to hear this too. When you see Papi and when you see Pedro Martinez, but I'm going to focus on the hitters. I'm going to focus on Papi and Manny. And it's funny they play in Boston because it's near Harvard. But all the chains, all the fun, all the this, when they come out and they're playing with the fans and they're giving you hugs, these guys are natural-born killers. From the night before, they're watching film, they're eating a good meal, they're getting their sleep, they're working out before batting practice, and I mean heavy, and then they're watching video, not only of the starter like your brother Justin, but the other 8 or 9 guys in the bullpen, who's in AAA that we may face. He knows every pitcher, every lefty coming out of the pen better than them. So the point is, for the little ones out there is, there is no shortcut to greatness. Mm-mm. And when you think these guys are not in tune, these guys are like PhDs from Harvard. They're prepared, they're academic, They watch video, physically, spiritually, the entire thing is what it takes to be a Hall of Fame type player like these guys.
Guys, and don't let A-Rod fool you. He did exactly the same thing. That's why he knows how to
That's
explain.
what I was about to say. You like to talk about other people, but you were one of the greatest to ever do it, and you should be talking about yourself just as much. But another guy that is taking over the world, and I was kind of early on this train, Shohei Ohtani. One of the best seasons I've ever experienced and gotten to see, and a lot of, like you just talked about, preparation behind the scenes is what makes it really special. Talk a little bit about Shohei Ohtani's year this year and how special it was. A-Rod, will start.
I can't even really speak to it besides just being a great fan of what I'm seeing. I mean, first of all, understand this is a young man who's single. He moves from Japan here. First of all, I would have already probably tapped out, okay? So he's done an incredible job. He's single, he's close with his family. I believe he has a brother that comes in, but he's solo here. That's number one. So making an international move, one. Number two, we talked about how hard we work on just getting ready for 11 pitchers and physically and spiritually and all the things that it takes to get ready to play. Now imagine if we had to go start 25 games as a pitcher and also be a hitter.
You got to be single to do that. Just so you know.
Absolutely. Or very married.
Yeah.
One of the two, nothing in the middle. But this segment just took a left turn. No, but honestly, I am a fan. And because of how rare what he's doing, not even Babe Ruth, when you look at what he's done compared to Babe Ruth, he wins in a landslide. For me, that's why he's the MVP this year.
I'll tell you what, man. You know, I'm so impressed with what is going on in baseball nowadays that it just blew my mind. You know what I'm saying? Because you see Ohtani, what he did. Like, towards the end of the season, I look at his number, and I was like, wow. Pitching and hitting, capable of doing all that type of stuff. But then you also look around the league, you see guys like Vladimir Jr., Tatis,
Acuna.
I mean,
Soto.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I'm having so much fun watching baseball nowadays, watching all this talent. Like, you know, like in our days, there's a lot of talented guys right there, but you know who you want to see.
Right.
You turn on the TV and you be like, okay, the Red Sox and Yankees are playing, that's what I'm watching. But now you have so many choices.
Right.
Like I mean, okay, I'm gonna watch the National. Oh, no. Let me
Papi,
go to
Brady told us to be
Blue Jays.
quiet. Ben, you're going to have to close this thing up. We're having too much fun.
Before we finish up, I like to do this one last thing. Papi, I need you to say one nice thing about the New York Yankees.
I love them. They made me rich.
A-Rod, say one nice thing about the Boston Red Sox.
I like this song, Sweet Carol.
All right, that does it. These two guys, they like to talk really nice about each other, but they both were absolute studs at what they did. Hall of Fame players and Hall of Fame people as well. For Big Papi, A-Rod,
Thank you.
I'm Ben Verlander. See ya.